What's going down, everybody? Happy Monday. I'm here with Twin Empire. We got a lot to talk about. Will the 49ers bounce back against the Jaguars? I had the fans vote about where they rank Brock Purdy. We'll discuss that. Where they rank the offensive line. We'll discuss that and what all that means. Give us about 20 seconds. I'm going to run this intro. We'll be right back.
You're dialed into the right place. And now your host, Ryan Hensley.
What's happening, everybody? What's up to Nick Nice, who's here? Says, what's good, Ryan? Good morning, everyone. Red Jet is here, says, good morning. Nice to see you. Red Jet, Todd Labor is here. I hope I'm saying your last name right. Is it Labor? Let me know if I'm getting that wrong. GTC is here, says, yo, everyone. What's going down? Don't bother me, says, top of the morning, faithful. Blessings, Ryan and Twin. Thank you very much for all your support. Thanks for being in the chat. Thanks for being here. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 6K. Make sure you also subscribe to Twins channel. All the information and the details for that are in the description. Real quick, want to pay some bills. The Ryan Z. Hensley Show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Hensley, and they are matching up to $500. It says 100 below, but they're actually matching up to $500 right now, which is a temporary promotion. That's a lot of paper. Make sure if you are into it, that you use promo code Hensley. Use Underdog, details in the description. They will match up to, again, $500. But don't be spending your rent money on gambling. Make sure you're gambling responsibly, please. Also, Blue Water Credit. If you want to get your credit fixed, Blue Water Credit is an elite credit repair company. Details in the description. Click the link, fill out the form, tell them Ryan Z. Hensley sent you. They'll give you a free evaluation, let you know what they can do for you, how much it costs, then you can make a decision at that time. But the evaluation is 100% free. Also sponsored by Hensley Real Estate and Mortgage and Solar. That is me. If you need to buy or sell a home, throw some solar on that roof, let me know, man. That's what I do. What's up, Twin, man? How you doing today, brother?
Hey, man, what's up? Good morning to Ryan G. Hensley, a.k.a. The Plug. Whatever you need, whatever you want, hey, hit my mans up. Y'all already know. If he don't know, he knows somebody that knows. You see what I'm saying? And that's the type of friends you need to have, a resourceful individual, man. And that's what Ryan G. Hensley is. So y'all make sure y'all hit him up for everything he just articulated to you guys, man, because he gonna make sure you get done right. You know what I'm talking about?
I appreciate it, man. If I speak on it on my show, you can trust that it's legitimate. Like, right, I've dealt with a lot of, for instance, the credit company, Blue Water Credit. I've seen a lot of credit repair companies and they're trash. Blue Water Credit is legitimate. Like, they'll give you a free evaluation. They'll tell you what you need. And credit is so damn important. Since we're talking positively real quick, let's get back to the positive vibe. I missed it on the last couple of shows just because of time and whatnot. But the positive vibe today, man, for those of you guys watching, and we're going to dive into the Niners as we always do, but I always got to start off positive, especially on a Monday morning, Twin. Self-awareness is so key, man. I can't tell you how much it helped me, like being aware of what my strengths and what my weaknesses are early on in my life. It really just developed and changed and altered my path towards my career. I learned early on, man, I'm not really a good employee. I gotta be in charge of myself. I really do. I struggle with authority. That's probably a weakness of mine. But what I did was I spun it into a strength, right? I knew that I can't work for people. So what I do, I started my own businesses. And because I focused on my strengths and didn't try to adjust my weakness, I found happiness and success. I highly recommend you guys just really take some time to reflect on your on who you are as a person, right? A lot of people try to, like, this is my weakness. Let me try to focus on my weakness. And that's good. But really, the key to success is focusing on your strengths. Double down on your strengths. Go after whatever your strength is naturally for you, for who you are as a person. Double down on that, and you will find more success than you ever have. Of course, you need to be working on your weaknesses always. I try to do that as well. But what has helped me in my career and my path is by focusing on my strengths. Self-awareness is key. Twin, what do you think?
Hey, man, I think you're saying a handful because a lot of people, and I'm learning this as well, is like bet on yourself, meaning that it's not a negative thing. It's just you learn your value. A lot of times we try to look for value in other individuals and how they see us and how they view us. But if you don't know the value of yourself, then anybody else can put any type of value on yourself. So it's really just about self-love and knowing that you are something that that's positive and that's somebody of value, that you can do something to help somebody else out. And when you realize that, you begin to see that you are uniquely yourself. And I think that's good for everybody, man. When you realize, like, hey, I might not do what you do very well, but whatever I do good, I do it. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And embellish that. And any type of negative thing, your mind gonna be so negative all the time anyway. So you might not want to harp on the negative. You do, like you said, want to give that positive energy, that positive time, and to download the things that you do well and continue to exacerbate that. And then as you get older and grow around the right people, those other things will slowly but surely fall off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely, dude. Real quick, I want to throw out this point, man. Let's talk a little football. But my man, Can You Dig It says CJ Stroud almost threw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Damn, we should have stayed with Trey. So that first part, I'll be honest, man, I could tell a mile away CJ Stroud was going to be that guy. I tweeted it out before the draft that he should be the #1 draft pick. He's just such a natural thrower of the football. And everyone knows I believe in Trey Lance's potential. But I'm going to tell you right now, Trey is not on the level of CJ Stroud as far as a natural thrower of the football right now. Doesn't mean he can't be one day. Maybe he will be. But CJ Stroud is head and shoulders above Trey Lance as far as his ability to throw the football. Now, I kind of hear your point. If we would have developed Trey, maybe he would have become that. But you could tell from the get-go that's who CJ Stroud was, man. What's your take on CJ Stroud, Twin?
I think he's first and foremost a confident man. You know what I mean? Similar to what we were just talking about earlier about believing in yourself and your capabilities and what it is that you can do. I've seen multiple interviews of him over the last 2 or 3 years prior before he went to OASU. But even when he was in high school, living in California and just his life and just a person, what he has to withstand and what he overcame, when you know his story and to see where he is today and the faith that he has, this won't look like something that is unexpected. He expects this, you know what I mean? And I love that his coach put him in a position to say, hey, man, it's not about me. This is your team. You know what I'm saying? And I love what he said. We talked about this earlier. Texas and the Texans, I'm going to put them on my back, and I'm going to let them know that this jersey is something you need to be proud to wear. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do whatever it is that I can to make sure y'all fall in love with who I am, not only as a quarterback, but what I represent as a person who's wearing this jersey. So I love his mentality. And I love when a coach give a guy the ability to say, hey, here you go. I trust you. And that's what I think you see most and foremost is that you see the trust, the empowerment, and the ability to say, hey, man, you go out there, you do what you got to do. And as you learn, we'll learn with you. But I trust you and your instincts and what it is that you bring to the table.
Facts, sir. Facts. So let's talk football. Let's talk Niners. Johnny Cesari says, Ryan, even though we didn't play, it's like a victory Monday watching what Seattle did yesterday. Provided hope we needed after the last 3 weeks. So, yeah, I think the Rams lost, Cardinals lost, and the Seahawks lost, putting the 49ers back in first place, which is a good thing for the 49ers. So they still have the keys to the NFC West Championship. What you drinking on, a Bang, brother?
Hey!
You drinking on a Bang? You got a Bang over there? Like the Bang Brothers. This should be the Bang Brothers show.
You already know.
Yeah, man. Bang gets it going, even though it's horrible. I don't know. It's probably not good for you, but I drink water and Bang and coffee every morning, man. I gotta have something. I'm still losing weight, still getting in better shape, so it's all good. Josh Cullivan says, good morning, gentlemen. Niners must bounce back. I have all the confidence in the world they will. Have a great day, fellas. Thank you, Josh, man. Much appreciated. So that's the question, man. Let's start with that question. I'm gonna get your take and then I'll give mine. But will the 49ers bounce back against the Jaguars? What's your take, sir?
I think we should. Number one reason is a bye week. I think there's some coaches in the National Football League that after a bye week, I think of Andy Reid, his record is immaculate coming off a bye week. You get a time to rest. You get a time to do some homework over the team that you're about to play. You really get to a chance to install on top of the install. You know what I mean? You don't have to rush for anything. So I really believe that we should come and be victorious, especially with all the things that we've heard over the week. We had things to kind of iron out, you know, and you had another opportunity for these guys to kind of get that mentality out their head as far as just rushing, trying to hurry up and fix certain things. You got time to hang out with your lady, hang out with your kids. You know what I mean? Go on vacation. I think I saw Juice out here on vacation with the old lady, you know, just doing something to relax a little bit and have fun. One thing I love about sports is when you are having fun and you've been a kid again, it comes a little bit easier. And so I think right now, the 49ers, when some people say they always used to look so physical, look like they were swarming to the football because they was having fun. They were like young boys playing a game with their homies. And I think that's what we'll see coming up this weekend playing against a team like Jacksonville, because they'll put the league on notice like, okay, they back to who we thought they were.
Yeah, man. When I said Bang Bros, I forgot all about that. Y'all got me. You checked me in the comments. I appreciate that. Let me take that back. I'm gonna retract that. That's not who we are.
Hey, we pure heart, man. We ain't gotta worry about that. You know, if it ain't our identity, we ain't gotta be worried about it. Y'all better get off the internet, man.
Yeah, I'll get off the internet. But you guys are hilarious. Yeah, no, I think so. Here's the thing for me. Debo's back. Trent Williams is gonna be back. Chase Young is on the squad. They got the whole bye week to prepare. I really believe the 49ers are going to bounce back this week. Now we're going to talk about what that, what the outcome for the season is based on a couple other things later on in the show. But I'm pretty confident these 49ers are going to bounce back. Now they do have to travel to Jacksonville, and the Jaguars are on a winning streak. But I think the 49ers realize what's at stake. And I think, like you said, there's a little bit of spark coming back with Chase Young, with Debo. And honestly, Trent Williams we all know he's a Hall of Famer. And I know you've had your issues with Trent this year. I've heard your conversation on that. But overall, man, he's by far the best offensive lineman we have. Probably top 2, 3 left tackles in the game, if not number 1. It's a big difference maker. They run most of the time outside zone off that left side. Having him back is going to help the run game. It's got to. And having the run game is going to help Brock Purdy, and the passing game, it's going to keep the offense on the field longer, which is going to help the defense. Trent Williams is so key. Also, the threat of Debo Samuel on the field, I think it's going to make a huge difference. And I'm really excited to see Chase Young. My son was playing Madden this week, and it was kind of cool to see Chase Young on the field. And he was a wrecker in Madden, at least. We'll see what that means. It translates into actual games. But I don't think I've talked to you since the 49ers signed Chase Young, have I? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the Chase Young to the Niners?
I'm excited, man, because of just a new person coming into the room. And then you got a young guy who's full of expectation. You do have the Bosa connection as far as Ohio State Buckeyes situation. And then anything that you can do to try to bring up the morale, I think is good. And then he's a player, a young guy who has something to prove. He knows that there's a weakness in our defensive line when it comes to getting sacks. And so to me, as a person coming in, is like, I play football, play basketball. If I know somebody needs a shooter, to me, it's like, all right, I'm needed. Like my talent here will be needed, and not only needed, but it will be cherished as well. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, it's a role that I can go ahead and follow into. It's not something I got to try to do something that I don't actually do very well. And so I do believe he's bringing in that energy, that charisma. I think that will help get the defensive line kind of like, all right, man, let's get it going. It'll tell Nick Bosa, like, hey, Nick, we got a dog over here. You know him. It's not somebody that you don't have a relationship with as well. And it just, again, you sometimes just need that bolt of energy. And so I know we got Randy Gregory. I thought he played good the first couple of games that he was here, but he didn't play a lot of snaps. But I could see his impact. And so bringing another guy like him will help solidify our defensive line and just overall our confidence. Say, all right, guys, let's go out there and get it. So that's my belief, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to what he brings to this situation as a new 49er.
Yeah, man. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen throughout the league. The Eagles are now, what, 8-1? 8-1 or 9-1? Is it 8-1? It's 8-1, right?
8-1, man. Them dogs over there.
They look really good, man. But the 49ers have to play the Eagles on what December 3rd, I believe. Yes, they play the Eagles on December 3rd. That looks like a tough matchup for the 49ers. Also, we watched the Ravens just whoop on the Seahawks. That Ravens, did you know that something I didn't know? I believe it's 17-1. Did you know that Lamar Jackson is 17-1 against NFC opponents?
Yeah, man. I knew that. They're actually 18-1 now that they won the from last week. 18-1 against the NFC. A lot of times it's like, it's crazy how in certain sports, different conferences have different styles of play. And so when you have somebody come over from a different style, you got to try to get adjusted to how they play. And a lot of times you're not ready for it. And so they come in, you so used to a certain game plan throughout your NFC counterparts. So when somebody come in on the AFC, you're not necessarily ready for it. Then you bring in the quarterback that is as electric as your boy Lamar Jackson.
It's hard to game plan for. You can't really game plan for that cat.
Hey, y'all better put some respect on that, man, because they had 2 turnovers and they still put up 30 points. But all I'm saying is the boy dynamic. You know what I'm saying?
And they rushed for, what was it, 200-something yards in that game. the Niners have shown they're not really great against the run this year, like we've thought in the past. So those two games are definitely concerning for me for the future. Right now, we're 5-3. Those two games, the Eagles and the Ravens. I don't know. And the Ravens game's on Christmas, man. The Ravens might come to Cali and ruin Christmas for us. That's my concern. Hopefully the Niners can pull it off. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, man, he's a different animal, man. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Like the way he's playing right now, he's one of the hottest to me. We'll see, man. I mean, I'm hopeful the Niners can bounce back. The key for these Niners, man, they got to be the defensive team. They got to be the defensive team and the run team. That's been our identity for 5-6 years since Kyle Shanahan has taken over, and we've kind of lost that identity. Our defense has not been performing, and the run game has disappeared since the Cowboys game. Actually, in the Cowboys game, CMC struggled. So the run game has disappeared. The defense has disappeared. And if that's going to continue, we're going to struggle, especially against teams like the Eagles and the Ravens. We got to get back to our identity. The Jaguars are on a 5-game winning streak, which is a little bit concerning. They're the hottest team in the NFL, I think, right now, as far as wins, consecutive wins. And the Niners are on a 3-game skid. But I think with the bye week, with like the guys we were talking about, Trent Williams coming back, Debo coming back, Kyle Shanahan having time to prepare, Kyle Shanahan getting Steve Wilks on the same page as him in the defense, I think the 49ers can pull it off. This is why I think they will bounce back. I'm hopeful they bounce back. Maybe this is a homer take, but that's my opinion, man. I think they do and they pull this game off. But I think some of the things that concern me for this year, and G-Rod brings it up. Let me show you guys something that I just I took a poll on this. Let me go ahead and pop it in here. Yeah, let's talk about Brock Purdy first. I wanted to do the O-line, but let's talk about Brock Purdy first. I asked 49er fans or people on Twitter, rank Brock Purdy for me. And 5% said he's top 5. I think those guys are a little bit out of sync with reality a little bit. 21% said 5 to 10. I could see maybe an argument for that. A majority say 59.7% said 11 to 16. That's kind of where I have him. And then 13.2% says 17 to 32. I think they might be a little bit down and out on Brock Purdy. I don't think that's really fair. I think that the people that voted 11 to 16, I think that's pretty realistic. I think at times he's looked like, hey, maybe he's a number 10 guy. Maybe he's a number 9 guy. But I think in general, I kind of see him between 12 and 16 overall so far from what we've seen. Now, that doesn't mean that Brock Purdy can't improve. He's only, what does he play? Like 15, 16 games, something like that total. So he's still, new to NFL football. He could definitely improve as he gets more experience. It's not that he can't improve. But right now, this is where most people have voted. Over 2,100 people voted. And I kind of agree that he's in that 11 to 16 mark. Where would you rank him, Twin? And do you agree with the way these people have voted?
Man, I'm in agreement with the majority, 11 through 16. At the end of the day, I do believe there's certain things that he does very, very well, especially for this offense. We've seen multiple quarterbacks try to run this offense, and some done very well or decent, and others not so much. So I do believe that since his inception, as far as running this thing, he's been one of the better quarterbacks we've had in Kyle Shanahan's system. So I got to give him credit for that and what he has produced over, almost 17, 18 games now. And so, but at the same time, I do understand that he does have a supporting cast that is very good as well. One thing that people sometimes get mad at when we look at Jimmy Garoppolo, we all thought, what would Jimmy G look like without who? Without Kyle Shanahan and the weapons that he has around him. And so we know he still had Devontae Adams, Hunter Winfrey, Josh Jacobs. These guys aren't no ordinary type of individuals on their team, but Kyle Shanahan is the one thing that's not there. And you can tell that offense is not necessarily clicking for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I have to take that into account and say, okay, Kyle was doing something else that was kind of helping him be who he was. And I'll be naive to not think that he doesn't do the same thing for somebody like Brock Purdy when he has all his surrounding players around him. So I would give him the benefit that when he got his guys, he's executing what the OC wants, and he's doing it at a high level, and also he's leading his team. So 11 through 16, I'm kind of in agreement with that. I think he's not a bad quarterback. I don't think he's like a top 5 quarterback, meaning whenever I think the top 5, other people on their football teams want our quarterback, if that makes sense. Like a top 5 quarterback to me is like, I don't care who I'm with. If that quarterback was available, give me him. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I believe when somebody who's a top 5, like, all right, that boy a dog. And I know my quarterback is good, but that boy right there is special. You see what I'm saying? And so that's and that's not a hate or a knock on him. That just tells you that there's levels to this game of football, and he's just not there yet. He's still young in his career, though.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, like some people say, he's a rookie. Z9ers saying he's a rookie. He's not a rookie. He's not a rookie. He's played I don't know how many games it's been, like 16 games or so. This is his second year. He's had 2 off seasons, 2 training camps. He's not a rookie anymore. He's a sophomore quarterback, but he's still learning. I don't judge, and in case 49 brings up, I'll rank Brock Purdy after this season. I think that's fair, but typically, honestly, I won't write off or come to a conclusion on a quarterback until they've had 2 to 3 full seasons of play. Usually at least 2. I need 2 full seasons of play before I can really get a clear picture of who a quarterback is. And Brock Purdy's not there yet. So, like I said, right now, if I had to rank him, I'd rank him. He's somewhere in between, like on his best. This year I've had him as high as like maybe 9, and then as low as 15 to start the season. I said he's probably 15, and he's improved upon my opinion of him. So maybe he'll continue to improve as the season goes. Maybe he'll snap out of the turnover stuff, because the reality is last 2 games he's played phenomenal outside of the end of the game, right? The end of the game when it's clutch time and he had to put the team on his back. He's turned the ball over a lot. And that's kind of dropped him down for me. So maybe he'll dust that off and he'll get back to his old ways. I know Johnny, who's a friend of the show, he tweeted at me this morning. He said, "Hey, Ryan, Geno's turned over the ball 8 times in the last 4 games. It's time to write him off. He's a one-trick pony." And I said, "Johnny, Brock Purdy's turned the ball over 6 times in the last 3 games, man. So if we're gonna say that about Geno, we got to say that about Brock. I'm not really ready to say that about either. I need these seasons to play out to see where they're at. But I think overall, 49 fans are pretty accurate with their overall ranking of Brock Purdy. He's somewhere in that 11-16 range. Maybe he can improve and move up higher. But if you vote a top 5, you're a little wild right now. If you voted 17-32, you're probably hating a little too hard on my guy
you
Brock,
hate too hard, man. Like,
yeah.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong being the gray. You know what I'm saying? It's not all black and white. There's a gray area that we all have to put context in and what's going on. Because I heard someone talk about this, I think yesterday. They were saying, who did the Dolphins beat? And they're saying the Dolphins keep losing against good teams. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. Be careful how we say certain things, because at the end of the day, you're not going to sit here and tell me us beating the Steelers is saying that we beat a really good team. Even though they're 5-3, don't sit here and tell me that the Steelers is a team that we look at honestly and wholeheartedly say they're a really good team. They're a top 15 team in the league. Now, are they winning? Yes. Exceptional coaching, and they're doing the small things to get victories. But we've lost against other teams that haven't been good, and the only team that with a real winning record that we believe they could do some damage is the goddamn Cowboys. So let's just we taking care of business when we had to.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, man. Like, Brock Purdy can come out and bounce back. I think fans are too reactive. It's like, he'll play great one week, and they're like, Brock Purdy's the GOAT. He's better than Patrick Mahomes. And the next week he plays bad, and they're like, he's horrible. He's trash. Like, you got to kind of just look at the accumulation of his career, what he's been able to do throughout, and we just don't have enough data on him yet, right? We need to see more, and not even really data. It's the eye test, the film, right? Data can be deceiving, right? People need to understand, like, you got to put guys all on the same team in your mind, and then a picture like what they would be doing. Like, I had a guy, I don't know who his name was basically trying to compare Brock Purdy to Josh Allen, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing? This is a bad exercise. Josh Allen is proven to be elite. Brock Purdy's still proving himself. We don't know who he is yet, so people got to chill out a little bit. I wanted to get your take on this, so I'm gonna keep in mind where we rank Brock Purdy. Keep in mind where Brock Purdy is ranked. And then I want to show you this. I asked him the same question about the 49ers offensive line. This one, I was a little surprised, to be honest. 49er fans, most of them said that they're in the bottom half of the NFL from an offensive line standpoint. I think that might be a little harsh, but I don't know, man. What do you think? What do you think? What's your opinion, brother?
I think 11 through 16 possibly should be right there. A lot of times the offensive line is not the greatest, but at the same time, it's the National Football League in 2023. There's no really, really good, great offensive linemen. Let's be honest. Like, it's hard around the league. This is not something that you can sit here and have and say there's 10 teams with really good or great offensive line. It doesn't happen that way with other skill positions. This position is not necessarily glorified. And so at that light, you need philosophy and your scheme to be one of the main things that kind of help your offensive line, because they're moving in unison with one another. You know what I'm saying? And so I believe even last year, similar to where it wasn't all the way great on paper as far as the names, but as a unit and how things maneuver when George Kittle come in the game, what it is that Juice does in the blocking, like these things come into play. Same thing with the wide receivers blocking. So you got to utilize not only the offensive line, but the other people who come in, like a what's our other tight end name? I can't come off the top of my head, but dog, like all these guys are into the blocking scheme. So I give them the middle of the pack, especially with Kyle offense, because you cannot have all of these wide open plays without the time to go out here and throw some of these plays. I mean, to have the time in which Kyle Shanahan draws the play up where these guys are wide open. And a lot of times there's nobody around for 3 to 4 yards. And so he has to have the time to actually have these high completions. And I just want to throw that out there. There's no really, really great offensive lineman in today's National Football League, for real, for real.
Let me share this with you guys, man. This is something I found interesting that I want to talk about, and then we'll get back to this. But it's related. Let's listen to John Lynch here.
Really,
Man.
if you look at an oversimplification, you got to get the quarterback, and then you got to get the guys that knock them down. I mean, that's probably the simplest way to success in our league.
One more time.
And there's obviously so much more to it. Really, if you look at football and oversimplification, you got to get the quarterback, and then you got to get the guys that knock them down. I mean, that's probably the simplest way to success in our league. And there's obviously so much more to it. But
so John Lynch basically just said that from a team building aspect, and they've said this before, that they believe that the most important thing is you got to get the quarterback, and then you got to get the guys that knock them down. That's the second priority. Now, I disagree with his take. I think it's you got to get the quarterback, then you got to get the protection for the quarterback that will also help you in the run game, that also helps the quarterback, and then you got to get the guys that knock down the quarterback. And I think that's been one of the big problems for this 49ers team under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and what's held them back from winning that Lombardi versus just getting there, being competitive, being good on a regular basis. Not having that elite offensive line is probably the biggest problem with this 49ers team. It's hindering their ability to run the game, and especially with Trent Williams. You take Trent Williams out. Now, if you take Trent Williams out of this offensive line, I'm going to agree with the people in this poll. If you take Trent Williams out, they are 17-32. I will be 100% honest with that. When you have Trent Williams in there, they're definitely at least 11-16, I would say. But overall, it's been a problem, and the problem exists because of the lack of prioritization by the 49ers. Right, this last offseason, I said let's move up if we have to, do whatever we got to do. We got to get a right tackle. Let's draft DeJuan Jones. That's my exact quote. Instead, they got a kicker, and they could have got a kicker in free agency. I forget that cat's name. I think he's on the Cowboys. Who's doing tremendous, or he's on the Raiders.
19, I believe.
Yeah, on the Cowboys. Yeah, he's doing tremendous as an undrafted free agent. They could have done something like that and still got DeJuan Jones, but they just don't prioritize that offensive line high enough, and that may be the problem. Now, here's my big ultimate question for you, Twin, and this is my big concern. I think the 49ers are going to bounce back against the Jaguars. I'm hopeful, and I think it's possible. But as far as winning that Lombardi, when you have a quarterback who is basically, in his second year, he's still learning, he's very young, and he's ranked between 11 and 16. And then you got an offensive line who's bottom half without Trent Williams, and even with Trent Williams, they're probably 11-16. Those are the two most important positions on an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
Can you really expect to win a Super Bowl with that formula, with a quarterback between 11 and 16 and an offensive line below 11?
And so this is another issue, right? So we've seen the last 2 off seasons Trent Williams get hurt towards the end of the year, especially with a lower extremity injury as far as his ankles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had quarterback issues. So they said, let's solidify the QB room with multiple guys that could probably go out there and do what? Start if an injury happens. But we didn't do the same type of security or get the same insurance for the left tackle position, and also the oldest guy on the left tackle, which is the best guy on the offensive tackle. On our offensive line. And so now there's a disconnect, like you just said. Why aren't we making sure we prioritize the insurance of that position? If something were to happen to Trent Williams, we have a plethora of guys that we know that can go in there and do what we need to do in order to be a Super Bowl caliber team. Because at the end of the day, if there's no protection for our quarterback, and he has to have a lot of things that go right for him to be as effective as he is in this offense, we're now not setting him up for success. We set him up for failure. You see what I'm saying? And to me, that's not cool, because at the end of the day, you know how often our quarterbacks get hurt. For you to still not prioritize the offensive line when we seen even Patrick Mahomes go out there and get a whole entire offensive line to make sure he's okay. Same thing happened to what's my guy named Joe Burrow. They went out there, got a whole offensive line, because you remember that year he went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Hey, he had me and you out here blocking. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And they was eating his butt up. And he's Joe Burrow. These guys have physical capabilities that even the one and only Brock Purdy doesn't have, but you still need to make sure he has the protection in front of him. So to me, that's a disservice to the GM, far as Cal John himself need to look in the mirror and say, hey man, I'm not protecting my asset properly. Same thing with my quarterback. I'm not protecting him as well. So we got to do something better when it comes to our philosophy, when it comes to making sure we invest in our offensive line and have multiple guys, because if something ever to happen to Trent Williams right now, we haven't solidified it. We haven't got nobody coming in as a backup. We haven't invested in it over the last 3 years like we should have. And I don't want that to bite us in the butt. But when we play against them other teams, like the Philadelphia Eagles, possibly the Chiefs and these other teams or the Ravens, they go eat. They coming for our neck. You know what I mean? And we got to make sure we protect it. But I don't think we are.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, like the defense, the way they've been playing lately. If the defense don't get back to the top 5, forget about it. Like, forget about it, right? Like, there's zero chance the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl if the defense don't get back to the way they were playing, because this team's identity is defense, run game. So if the defense doesn't get back to top 5 this week or moving forward this season or by the playoffs, you can forget about a Super Bowl this year, because the offensive line is not up to the level it needs to be. And Brock Purdy's still a young cat learning, man. So you can't actually ask him. I mean, this is a legitimate excuse for Brock Purdy. I'm going to be real. Like, just like you said, Patrick Mahomes went to the Super Bowl, lost. Joe Burrow couldn't win the thing because of an offensive line. And then what did they do? They're like, hey, we need an offensive line. The 49ers last year go to Philadelphia and get dominated in the trenches. And what did they do? Oh, we need to beef up the D-line. But like, the O-line's not an issue. Like, I'm not one of the people that thinks the 49ers were going to win that game against the Eagles last year. Brock Purdy stayed in there. I don't see that at all. They were getting dominated in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Yeah, the offensive line couldn't hold nothing up. They couldn't establish a run, nothing. And the 49ers like, run it back. Run it back.
Same old.
I don't understand that, man. It's the most frustrating thing about this team for me is it's the lack of prioritization on the offensive line. I just don't get it. I don't know what they're thinking, man. Go ahead.
And Ryan, also, again, this is the malpractice that they should, like, you cannot have 5 to 6 third-round draft picks to never see the field. Never. If you go sit here and draft all these running backs and wide receivers in the third round and they never see the field, and you say we don't need those guys at the skill position. Well, we do need those guys in the offensive line position, period.
Right.
We should sit there. If we would have used 5 picks in the last 3 years on offensive linemen, third-round draft picks, nobody would be mad. We used one for Aaron Banks. He actually was the highest offensive round pick we had, and he actually pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? He's a good combination with him and Trent Williams. So when we saw Thomason leave, we were like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But we used a high draft pick to get the guy, and his talent is showing. Why haven't we done the same thing for the other 3 positions with the center, the right guard, and the right tackle? You see what I'm saying? Like, dude, we should have kept that same energy, but we don't. So now we got picks unused sitting on the doggone sideline, and TDP, Bell, and these other guys who aren't even being used. And it's like, bro, why aren't y'all thinking about that? Why aren't we using these assets that we did have, but now they are liabilities because none of them can go out here and play a guard, a tackle, or a center position to help us out?
Yeah, it's frustrating me because, me more than anything, all I want to see is the 49ers win that 6th Lombardi. And I feel like if you put that 2012 Harbaugh's O-line with this team, It's a wrap, dude. It's a wrap. Like 49ers would have won already, another Lombardi. And it's almost unfair to put Brock Purdy in this situation with this O-line, just like it was. You just can't expect to go all the way with a bad offensive line. It's just not going to work out, man. I hate to be negative, man, but I'm trying to be real. Like, I'm not, you know me, I'm super positive. I start every show with a positivity, man. But when it comes to the Niners, I'm just going to be real, man. I don't see us winning Super Bowl with this offensive line. I don't see it. I just, it's unfortunate that I feel that way. I would love to not feel that way, but that's how I feel, man. Am I crazy, or can they win with this line, man?
We're betting on everything to be perfect in an imperfect game.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we betting on in this game where everything can go wrong. Kyle's system is predicated on everything going as planned.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to write in contingency plan because it's football. You see what I'm saying? And so we betting on Debo being healthy at the end of the year. We betting on Trent Williams being healthy at the end of the year. That's too much waiting on all these guys to not have a contingency plan. So, yeah, man, I'm agreeing with you. Like, I want us to win. I believe we have the talent, but I'm not going to be naive to the fact that things can happen. People can get hurt. And I don't think our depth is there to sit here and say we can miss these 3 or 4 guys and still win with the defense playing the way they're playing. I don't know, man. It's shaky. It's gonna be we're gonna need a lot of other things to happen for these other teams for us to be successful in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, if the Chiefs can't win a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes without a good O-line, it's just crazy that we're like, we could do it with Brock Purdy. I mean, Brock Purdy's a young cat, man, and it's not a knock on Brock Purdy, but he's a young dude. He needs everything clicking. Brock Purdy only passes about he's ranked 20. I got to look at it after the bye week, but he was ranked like 22nd in passing attempts. So he's not being asked to pass a lot, whereas like a Patrick Mahomes, they're like carrying the whole team with the passing game in general. So it's just like asking young Brock Purdy to throw the team on his back when the run game's not working, when the defense not working, when he has no protection. It's just like an impossible ask. And Brock Purdy did really well against the Bengals, man, avoiding the pressure and scrambling. I want to see more of that. And unfortunately, I think he's going to have to do that. Brock Purdy's going to have to scramble to get first downs with this offensive line right now. And they're asking a lot of him. And it's honestly not fair for a kid that of his age, or a young man of his age, asking him to do that, man. So, yeah, I hate to be a downer this morning on a Monday.
We talked about that, though, Ryan. Like we said this early in the year. Trey Lance, but I'm telling y'all can't sit here and say that he's a top 5 quarterback, because the expectation is going to be so high and his ceiling is already up here that if anything happens, y'all realize you're bringing on all this extra pressure for a young quarterback that I don't think he deserves, whether it was Trey or Brock. And it wasn't us trying to hate or hedge our bets. It's just like, it's football. It's crap. It's hard as hell to play. You know what I'm saying? And the expectation is a Super Bowl. Now, when you tell somebody like this is the guy, so we're trying to tell people like, man, he's going to have the ebbs and flow. But when you say he's here and these doggone turnovers started to happen, how does he recruit from losses and things of that nature? We know it's not going to be all on him. But when you are the Joe Burrows or things of that nature, they go say it's all on you. So when you get put in this upper echelon, they go say it's all on you, Brock. And you're like, man, he's still learning the game. He's trying to figure out these things. And that's the sad part about it, because he does need the opportunity to still grow, even though he has been successful and shown us wonderful things as a quarterback of the 49ers.
Yeah, man, Brock has done, I think, a really good job, man, for just his rookie and sophomore season, the limited amount of games he's played. He's been solid. He's been solid. I think he's done what's been asked of him. It's when the running game's not working, the defense isn't working, when the O-line's not protecting, and we're just like, hey, win the game for us. That's when we've seen these turnovers happen. And I just don't think that's really a fair ask of a young man like that. Not many quarterbacks have won the Super Bowl at Brock Purdy's age. How many? I think it's Ben Roethlisberger, Patrick Mahomes, and Tom Brady. I think those are the only 3 quarterbacks that have won it at age 24 or 23. I'm pretty sure that's it. I could be wrong, but I know it's not a lot. I think it's only those 3 guys. And now we're expecting, okay, now Brock Purdy, you do it. Russell Wilson? How old was he?
Russell was on, I think, his second year.
I think it was like 25.
He was that old coming out?
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong, but I looked it up before and it's just not clicking right now. But I remember it's only 2 or 3 guys at 23, 24 that have done it. I think there's only one at age 23. Brock's about to turn 24, I think, if he hasn't already. And I think there's 2 at age 24 that have. You might be right about Russ. I'll have to double check, but I think he was like 25. I could be wrong. But yeah, it's just not – it hasn't happened a lot. So we're going to have to see how it plays out, man. It's possible. I'm hopeful. More than anything, that's all. Like, I don't even care about, like, you can be – Niners could go 9-8 for all I care. As long as they get hot in the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. That's all I care about. Right now, though, it does look like the 49ers are going to have a hard time getting that number 1 seed. It doesn't look realistic because the Eagles are so damn hot right now, 8-1. I don't know. We're gonna here's gonna be the big test. December 3rd. December 3rd, when we go to Philadelphia and play the Eagles, we'll see what happens then. If the 49ers look legitimate, if they're able to pull it off and beat the Eagles in Philadelphia, then hey, I'll take it back. Then I will agree the 49ers have the potential to win a Super Bowl. But right now, it's looking like a tough matchup, brother. It is. It is. 49ers are 5-3, man. How do you see them finishing the season from a record standpoint?
I think we can afford 5-3, 8 games. I think we can afford 3 more losses. You know, I'm cool with that. We can lose 3 more games. I don't want us to. You know what I mean? But we are a team that has gotten on runs too before. So that's the one special thing. The special thing about this team, over the last 2 years, they have had 5+ game winning streaks. And so we can run out several games again. And I want to hedge my bet because at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of parity in the NFL this year. You know, I think everybody's pretty good. There's not really a real, like, I mean, there's some subpar teams, but at the end of the day, you can't count them out. You know what I mean? They all come into play. So I think we could win 11 games, you know? I think we will win 11 games, would be okay. High point, 12, you know? But that's just me trying to be realistic. That doesn't mean I don't believe in the team, but these other teams go out here and play football just like we do, you know, and I'm a fan, but also I got to be objective. I'm watching these other teams play. I'm watching the Ravens play. I'm watching Seattle, even though they lost to this week. That doesn't mean they can be mad and angry and turn around. And just like we hoping our team turn around after a bad loss, these other guys think the same way. You see what I'm saying? So I think we might, the high mark has to be 6 losses, and that's it. I can't go above that, though.
I had them 10-7 before the season started. I think it's possible because where are we at 10-3? If they could lose to the Eagles, they could lose to the Ravens. I mean, you never know about, you know, the Jaguars. It's possible. Commanders is possible. They could split with the Seahawks. That's always a tough matchup for the 49ers. So I think 10-7 is the low and 12-5 is the high. I think that's realistic for these 49ers. And then we'll see what happens when they get to the playoffs. Really, the good thing for you know, all 49er fans and NFL teams in general is if you get hot at the right time, that's really all that matters. If you get hot in the playoffs, then you could, like I said, you could go 9-8, squeeze into the playoffs and win the damn thing. Or 9 and what is it? Now it's 9 and 8. Yeah, you can go 9-8, squeeze in the playoffs somehow, which I don't think you're gonna be able to do. If the Niners go 9-8, they're not making the playoffs. They got to go at least 10-7 by my calculations. But they can go 10-7, get hot at the right time, and still pull off a Super Bowl victory. I think that's possible. Don't Bother Me says, how do you define bounce back? What does a team need to show as a team? What do they need to show as a team? What's your answer to that, Twin?
Discipline. Discipline to me is bouncing back, meaning that the things that you can control, you control. Certain times teams are just going to make plays, but like the undisciplined play where you're getting a lot of penalties, I think that's when you're showing bounce best because you're thinking about the details. There's diamonds in the details, and what usually separates a young team and an old team is being consistent in the details and your technique and not having dumb plays that put yourself behind the 8 ball. So a bounce back game to me is a low penalty game, and they're just tackling correctly. They're not doing dumb stuff to put themselves in dangerous situations. Every now and again, you're going to have a great offensive player like Etienne. He's a really good offense. Like, he's a really good running back. He can run the ball very hard. He can catch out the backfield. He's going to make a play. Like, we cannot stop him from making 0 plays. Same thing with Lawrence. He may throw a ball once or twice. You'd be like,
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I get that, but then there's certain plays where you may throw a bad ball and you just do dumb, and you lose your technique and you hold a guy or you pull a guy down without turning your head, looking. That's when I say, oh man, we ain't ready. We ain't focused on the small things to get better. So that's my 2 cents on what I mean about a bounce back game, just being disciplined in their technique and what it is they got to do together as a team.
Yeah, man. And the 49ers are top 1 or 2. They're tied. Well, before the bye week, they were tied for first with the Bills as far as penalty yards. And that is undisciplined. And they've been that way all season, even when they were, 5-0. And so they're shooting themselves in the foot. They definitely got to fix the penalties. But to me, a bounce back, to answer your question, don't bother me. To me, bounce back is we establish a run game. We get back to doing what we do on defense. We stop the Jaguars on third down. Like, we've been having a hard time doing that, as well as second and first down. Honestly, if we're being real, we go back to the Bengals game. We were pretty good on third down. I think we stopped. They only converted 3 of 8 on third down. It was first and second down, which was really killing us. The ability to not stop the run. So 49ers got to stop the run. They got to establish the run. They got to get the penalties down, and defense just got to show out. And Brock Purdy, if we're being honest, he's got to stop turning the ball over in those critical moments. And Jake Moody's got to get back on. Like, he's been okay the last couple of games, so I give credit to Jake Moody for that. But it just has to be a well-rounded team win. Everybody needs to be on the same page. And I'm hoping that they're going to do that. I think they're going to be able to do that against the Jaguars. That's my plan. That my fingers are crossed. That's the goal. I'm going to be on, just so you guys know, I'm going to be on Grant later today in the afternoon instead of 11 a.m. like I normally am. And then I'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday, with Jesse at 9 a.m. Back on Thursday with Rohan and somebody else, and Friday with somebody else. I'm not sure who yet. Twin, what do you got going on your show, sir?
Man, I think today I'm going to just go over the league again with the Cowboys playing, Eagles playing. Just another recap of what we saw around the NFL yesterday, and just trying to see where do we stand as far as what do these other teams do very well and what do some of these teams do bad. So you can catch me probably on tonight's show doing a recap, possibly with I can't think of my guy name right now, but tonight with that guy. On Wednesday, I'm gonna do another show with my brother. On Friday, I'm gonna do another show also with Terradome. Call it TNT, baby. You know what I mean? So we're gonna do a show together. My first time doing a Friday show with him. And I'm kind of excited, because we're gonna have football again. We're gonna have the press conference with the guys coming back into town, talking about what they did over their bye week and how they tend to come back and recuperate and get back to playing Niner football. So yeah, man, I'm excited,
So I just want to make sure I see. It looks like Grant texted me. So it looks like the 49ers have a press conference today around 11:30 or so. So look for that. 49ers going to have a press conference, probably just Kyle Shanahan, or maybe there'll be some players talking as well. So monitor that. I'll come on and drop some news if anything happens. But it's Monday. I got to get to work, and then I'm going to be on with Grant later this afternoon. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed to Twin Empire's channel if you haven't done so yet. If you haven't done so for me, please subscribe. Appreciate you guys very much. Y'all have a good day. I will see you tomorrow again with Jesse at 9 a.m., same time, same place, and later on today with Grant. Thank you, guys.